Over the potential role of the so-called Steele dossier in Robert Mueller's Russia investigation after it was revealed the Clinton campaign paid for the research behind that memo. Columnist Kimberly Strassel writing in the Wall Street Journal, quote, "The dossier amounts to one of the dirtiest tricks in U.S. political history. It was by Team Clinton and yielded a vast payoff for Hillary's campaign." Let's talk about this and bring in our panel for more. Cabot Phillis is the media director for campusreform.org and the former digital director for Marco Rubio's presidential campaign. And Atima O'Mara is a Democratic strategist and the former president of Young Democrats of America. Good lineup today. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thank you.
All right. So as many political observers have pointed out, time and time again, campaigns and political organizations frequently pay companies to assemble opposition research about their opponents, right? But this is so much more involved with so many hands in it, it seems, and still questions about where exactly the money came from to pay for it. So I'll start with you, Cabot. Just what do you make of what we've learned so far?
This is the height of hypocrisy being displayed once again by Hillary Clinton and her campaign to paint herself as this beautiful portrayal of truth and integrity in American politics, and then to go behind people's backs to secretly fund this dossier that went to the media with no fact-checking. Everyone and their mother knew this was false information. And then to come out and talk about it and say, well, we're just discussing these facts because, you know, the intel community, the media is talking about it, when in reality, they only talked about it because they funded it in the first place. This is Hillary Clinton. Again, this is shocking to the American people, but it shouldn't be that surprising given what we've seen from the Clinton family over the past decade and two. They have shown they're not afraid to go to any depth if it means anything that is going to help their political careers. And in this case, pushing information that they knew to be false and giving money to a foreign ex-spy to put together information, you know, that essentially was just going to try to harm the Trump campaign, help herself, and then try to distance herself from it at the end when they realized it was backfiring.
Atima, dirty trick is quite a headline there. Much of this 35-page collection of 17 research memos, written again by Christopher Steele, a respected former British intelligence agent by all measure, has left open many more questions than answers. And if this dossier provoked a warrant into investigations of people who have had their reputations tarnished, possibly without evidence to back it up. So what kind of fallout could be down the road? And do you think it's a dirty trick?
No, absolutely not. I mean, if you're going to talk about dirty tricks, well, then let's just lay it at like what Cabot said earlier, which is the fact that the Democrats weren't the ones to perpetrate the beginning of the research. It was the Washington Free Beacon, a conservative funded group that actually started the research on Republican opponents. Then at that point, when the primary was over, then of course Fusion GPS, like any good opposition research firm, said, hey, Democrats, are you interested in this? Because this is now your opponent. So this was actually started by Republicans. Let's be clear on that. The second thing regarding the dossier, it didn't start any of this investigation, specifically that Mueller is running on whether the Trump campaign associates actually colluded with the Russian government. It was the fact that a FISA warrant, which is something that Republicans supported to have a very high standard to actually wiretap, determined that Carter Page was having these conversations to begin with. And we found out much more information as a result of that, and that George Papadopoulos actually pleaded guilty to actually setting up meetings between the campaign, or trying to, that was authorized by campaign advisors with the Russian government. That's what's the discussion here, and this dossier is actually, quite frankly, an attempt to divert and distract from the very serious investigation happening right now.
You know, Cabot, there has been no public corroboration of the allegations against President Trump or of the specific claims about coordination between his associates and Russians. So how or when do you think this will be all figured out? When are we going to get the truth here? There's
a lot of speculation there, and there aren't that many facts out yet. I think it's important for us to wait for facts before we begin saying that there is collusion going on between Russia and Trump. And the American people deserve to know what's going on. Let's wait for the investigation to conclude before we begin pointing that out. But again, the way it stands now, it seems like there's just as much collusion going on between Hillary and foreign entities as much as there is between Trump. And again, it's important to look at this with the way the mainstream media handled this dossier. If the Trump campaign had come to the mainstream media and said, hey, we have this information on Hillary Clinton, will you cover it? We can't verify it. Of course they wouldn't cover it. They would say, this is not true. There's no way to know if this is accurate. And they wouldn't go to press with it. But when it's something that's harmful for Donald Trump coming from the Hillary campaign, they run with it. It had a huge impact on the campaign, and it shows again the hypocrisy in the way that the mainstream media covered both of these campaigns throughout the election.
And I can hear some reaction coming from our friend Atima there. Atima, much has been made about the timing here, that the Steele dossier allegations didn't surface until after the election. But, this new piece that we're all reading about in the Wall Street Journal shows otherwise. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, again, I did go back to saying if this is just simply an attempt to divert and distract from the fact that this investigation is happening because of the FISA warrant that the FBI obtained to investigate the fact that Carter Page was having communications with Russians. And then it led to George Papadopoulos, who actually pled guilty to trying to get authorization from the campaign to meet with the Kremlin government, or the Russian government, as it were. So it's just ridiculous that we keep going back to Hillary Clinton when, I mean, actually Trump himself, the president, was so concerned about what was going to be found out, and he actually admitted that on the air, that he fired Comey. He brought the special prosecutor in this investigation onto himself. This has absolutely nothing to do with the dossier. The dossier wouldn't be brought before a judge and used as a reason. No, it was because the intelligence community saw that the Russian government was attempting to interfere in our elections and had reasons to believe from their wiretapping and other intelligence gathered that this was a concern. That is what this investigation is about, and what we should on both sides of the aisle be concerned about.
All right. Well, we know there's much more to come on this. Of course, we'll continue to cover it. We want to thank you both for being here today. Thanks for spending some of your day with us.
Right.